dear, I can't believe you'd say that. I'm hoping I caught the start of the recording so no one knows that.
Actually, we need to do like Simpsons starts, don't we? To the lesson, say, you said what? I've got to be thinking, what was it? What happened? We could do it. We could be running gags, right? We need to think about this. We're going to have running gags. Yeah, get us through lockdown. There's going to be a running gag. So you've got, I think we've got until Friday for the next lesson now, or Thursday. So you've got to think what the running gag is going to be. Okay?
I had such a fright though, because I heard Katie say that, and I was like, it's been lagging. I was like, what the heck did he say?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
You know, obviously, we need to feature Katie's eyebrows just going through the roof at some point. Yeah, that's the one. And then we'll just have Abby just sort of going, oh, that shake of the head saying, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Perfected.
Right, so back, and just on the same lesson as we were yesterday. Now, before we go ahead with that, did I take you through all the different writing things, competitions that we could be getting involved in at the moment as well?
No.
Didn't I? Did it with the elements. Hang on. Hang about. Where do I put it on here now? Competitions. Boom. Yes, here we go. So, the Orwell is back up and running again for this year. And the theme this year is a new direction, starting small. A lot of it's built on the sort of positive things that get done, community-wide sort of thing through, I think, lockdown 1, to be honest, is where they took the premise from. I've given you the link, obviously, to it as well. So there's a lot more detail on there. You can watch the little sort of video that they do. They've linked up with groups that are doing sort of action on poverty as well, sort of thing. And a lot of it's built upon the work that Marcus Rashford did with the free school meals and things like that. That seems to be a lot of the thrust behind the thinking for this year. But it's the same as last year. Again, I think if you get your first kind of draft in by round about Marchish time, that's when you get feedback. But the final submission date is round about end of April, beginning of May, sort of thing. So get plenty of time to do that. So I thought it would be a good thing to do again. I know that Abby and Katie, you did it last year. But we've got a bit more time. We're going to have a bit more time now with things, as say, because of the evidence gathering and all that malarkey. It'd be a good thing to do, keep focused. Also, we have the joy that is the ISA essay competition, the Independent Schools Association, don't you know? Deadline 25th of March. Now, for you get free reign, basically. It goes through year groups. Now, for you, in the sixth form, as you can see, it is a kind of essay. We can submit a maximum of 6 entries for this category. So all 3 of you can get in. No, not a problem. And as you'll see, it is really broad ranging. What they're looking for is an original piece of writing, 1,000 words, which to you, all of you now, with your NEAs that you've been doing, that is a walk in the park. You can do 1,000 words probably in about 20 minutes now. You can do it in any topic, in any genre. And we can obviously discuss this as we go along if you want. So obviously there's English and linguistics. So it can be anything, any aspect of that at all. So we might take a little lesson to talk about it. Science, IT and technology. You can write about that if you want. Abby, you could do a bit on biology, if you wanted.
I could.
Yeah, or a bit on midwifery even.
That would be a hoot.
Wouldn't it? Midwifery in a pandemic.
Oh, there's so much to say.
See? But you've got to get 1,000 words. Just 1,000 words. And then there's arts and the humanities. So it says that they can be work that you've completed already, as sixth form studies. But as you can see there, you've got broad topics. So have a little think about them and come back to maybe some ideas that you might have. I'll put that onto the teams as well, so we can sort of have chats that way as well. Okay. Then I thought this could be quite good for a giggle. I'm thinking Katie for this.
Oh God.
Yes, Katie. Come on.
That's not a yes. So this is a what?
Katie, come on, Katie. Come on. You could do it from Othello. You could do a Daisy monologue. Or you could be Iago.
So I'm capable of talking and acting a whole monologue. I'm not that creative, sir. I don't have the capacity to act.
Yes, you do. Hey, this from the student who, when upon first meeting me in our first English lesson, I can still remember this, strolls into my classroom.
Hi, sir. This is
Proudly declared that she was going to be Lady Macbeth. No questions asked. So, you know, I think this is up your street, Katie.
very much, sir. I can see it now.
Don't you, Abby? Do you think it'd be good?
I think it would be the best thing this year has seen.
Hey, there you are. Gabe, what do you think? Yeah.
Honestly, Grammy worthy.
It
Oh,
will be a piece
Katie,
of
how
art.
can you let us
Emmy
down
would,
now?
it would be perfect.
This would be perfect.
Am
Wouldn't it?
I allowed a full costume as well?
Well,
Please.
if you wanted,
Oh,
you can
my.
take it as far as you like. You can, but just think the Shakespeare monologue that you choose, you can modernise it. You can have it, you know, it's Desdemona in a pandemic.
Can I do like a chavvy Desdemona? Like, oh, Othello,
Oh,
what do you think you're doing, you freak?
Kate, you being a chap, now that is quite dramatic. You've got to use Shakespeare's words, though, Katie. I hate to tell you, you can't muck about with them.
As you
What it
go
is you learn a monologue off by heart, and then you perform it, sort of thing. But I thought it'd be quite good maybe to do. I mean, because you've done so much work on Othello now, and we might not send it in, but I might do this. You could do. I mean, in the spirit of how we've used Flipgrid to do things so far, we could do it. You could because you could practice on a Flipgrid, can't you? Because we can keep them private so that only we see them. But we could do the monologues, don't you think?
Okay.
And if you think one's worthy enough, we can send it off.
It's going to be great.
I think this would be a good idea, don't you?
Yeah, I honestly do.
Wow. Try humming to warm up your vocal cords and deep breaths to relax.
Right?
Come again?
Yeah.
And stretching to loosen your muscles and joints for a lovely physical performance. This is quite some phrasing.
Oh yes. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, make your monologue come alive. Yes, yeah. Well, so you could do it on your yoga ball, couldn't you?
I could be a Zen Desdemona.
Oh, I see. This has got to happen. Come on, this has got to happen. Then
It's too
I was
funny.
thinking of you for this one, Abby. The Poetry by Heart competition.
Mm.
And again, it's the same thing. I've given you the link there. You can, what do we call it? They provide you with a raft of poems, and you select one to perform off by heart. You learn it. I can't remember when the deadline for this one is. I think it is. I need to double check again. March, April time. But you know, it's I thought it could be quite good to do.
Okay.
Don't attempt to do all of these things. I shared this with year 7s yesterday, and I kept saying to them, "This is purely optional, blah blah blah." This little voice pipes up. I can't remember whose it was. So, do we have to do all of these? I mean, no, that'd be silly. But I'm sure probably somebody will try to do all of them. But yeah, I mean, just choose one. But I think we might keep the Shakespeare one in house, but I think that would just so good for a bit of light relief in pandemic mode. And to enter into the spirit of things, I would record one too.
Wow.
Oh,
This
yes,
is
please.
So if I'm prepared to put my neck in the line, yeah, and we don't have to stick to Othello. You can go to any Shakespearean play you like. But I just thought, obviously, you've done so much work and you know that inside out. I think it'd be quite good to do a few of Iago's. That'd be quite good. Yeah. Or Edmund from King Lear. So there you go. Those are things to keep you occupied, amused, and your spirits uplifted throughout this lockdown 3.
Thanks.
Oh, you don't have to sound so enthusiastic. Really? I tried to do a nice thing.
I am.
Thank you so much.
Right, back to more solid ground of Handmaid's Tale. See, on the same lesson as we were yesterday. Okay. Now, if we began talking about this, interesting things with this opening section of the historical notes. If you look at it, and I've just taken it straight across, it says, being a partial transcript of the proceedings of the 12th Symposium on Gileadian Studies, held as a part of the International Historical Association Convention, which took place at the University of Denai, Nunavut, on June 25th, 2195. Now, what gives us problems straight away? What tells us again that this is completely and utterly subjective? That's my dog.
Sorry, that dog is
Yeah.
in pain. I
Yeah.
don't dog it.
I think it's the case that my wife's returned home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Annie does get rather distraught at the fact that my wife leaves the house and abandons her to two males in the house who are obviously incapable of looking after a dog. She does it every time she comes back home. She must have got through the door now because it's gone quiet. Oh, no.
Oh.
Anyway, back to Handmaids. What's the issue with this?
I have a question before we even go into that.
Okay.
I still to this day don't know what a symposium is.
Oh, it's just like think of it as it's a meeting. A symposium is just a posh word for it's a gathering of like-minded people, like a convention.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's what a symposium is. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. What's the problem with this? Partial transcript.
It's not telling the whole story or being the whole thing of it, really.
Yeah. And when we get this, isn't this the case? When we read this as well, isn't this what the whole problem with what do we call it? Handmaid's Tale is as well? We're not getting the complete story. We're only getting part of the story.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, it's that partial transcript. We've got it, and then we've got the chair, Professor Marianne, and then the keynote speaker. And we talked about yesterday. We already began to sort of dip into this. Oh no, I went again. It's the case that if we think about it, it's the female role as a kind of the window dressing. She's the chair. As she says herself, it's housekeeping, that role. Oops, that she's there for. Nothing more, just to sort of, it's a figurehead, it's a role. And again, it's almost like that kind of, we think about males and their trophy wives and that kind of concept. It's the same thing. The male still gets the plum role, yeah. So again. Oops. So the male still gets that plum role, yeah. They're the keynote speaker. They're the one that everybody's come to hear. And it suggests that there are still these divisions. Yeah? Now, the year is 2195. What does that tell us?
I didn't hear you then, sorry.
Oh, sorry. The year is 2195. What does this tell us?
Gilead lasted a long. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Only that Gilead lasted a long time for it to be that far in the future, because it doesn't seem that Gilead was destroyed that long ago from the way they talk about it.
Can I just direct you to saying that this is the 12th Symposium?
A symposium's a long time apart.
Well, it might well be. We don't know, do we? We don't know whether these are annual conventions, biannual, that sort of thing. It's the third meeting of them. But I mean, it's the main thing is, isn't it? We know that Gilead has fallen. Even when we've been reading it, Gilead has appeared to be at the height of its power. But here we're in the aftermath that, you know, Gilead has fallen. So even this, what appeared to be this unconquerable state, has crumbled. Yeah. Okay. So what we're getting here is now like a reflective view of Gilead. You know, looking back past it, and how it once held power, and that is now gone, sort of thing. Okay. So we've got the glossary, and again, as I say, it's got all the puns and whatnot in there. Did you have a look through that last night at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think they are very useful for that little section, and it's what you'd expect to find in a genuine historical notes section. Obviously, all those footnotes to it, so that you get the full understanding of the text. Now, we move on to the professor's address, which is entitled "Problems of Authentication in Reference to the Handmaid's Tale." What does that then suggest to us as readers?
Well, the fact that it's problems, it's like picking holes in her story, and like it's a male trying to pull apart a female's narrative.
Right, okay. Oops. So, yeah. So we've got that there's flaws in the story. Even more straightforwardly, that problems of authentication, what's that telling us? What is that clearly signalling to the reader? Whoops.
That is not reliable and none of it should be trusted.
Right. It's not reliable. But let's not forget, what is the Handmaid's Tale? What is it a work of?
Fiction.
So from the very beginning, we've known all along, this is a story. This is, as it says in its title, it's a tale. We're not expecting to take it as reality, realism in any way, shape, or form. But here, right at the end, it's kind of getting stood in its head, where it is a case that, you know, through the professor and the symposium, we've been told this should be taken as reality. But if we do take it as reality, can we rely on it? Can we trust it? Is it trustworthy? All of those sorts of things. And so again, we have this idea about Margaret Atwood, the author, playing with us quite deliberately as the reader. And again, we can think about Atwood then using the persona of the professor. You know, he's kind of almost like, he kind of toys with his audience. I think, I can't remember if it was Abby or Katie, you mentioned yesterday about, you know, the content of the speech, where there wasn't so much kind of like substance to it, but he was very aware of his audience, and hence, you know, the flow of the speech, it was going into a certain sort of style to kind of please the audience. And we're getting that idea now with Atwood, the author, as she puts this last section into her novel. Now, before I can't remember when you first got the book. Did you think that was part and parcel of the novel, the historical notes, or did you just think that was something chucked on at the end? You know, sometimes you'll get it. The authors will put in sort of historical notes to sort of tell you where they got the idea for the plot from and that sort of thing. Did you take it as part and parcel of the novel, or did you think it was something completely separate?
I thought it was something kind of separate at first, and then I realised that maybe it wasn't all true, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay, Gabe. Yeah. Abby, Katie, what did you think?
I thought it was part of the. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was separate too.
Yeah, I mean, it's that whole thing, isn't it? Because I mean, I've had groups before who they've taken it. The novel just does end with Offred being taken off, you know, that kind of abrupt ending, and they stop and say, right, no, I want you to read the historical notes section again. And so again, there's even that sort of playfulness with the reader. You know, are they going to read this? Are they going to see it as part of the novel, or is they going to see it as something completely separate? It's how it fits in. Because once we read that, what do we need to do as readers? You know, once you've taken the historical section on board, what do we need to do as readers?
Readjust our thinking of the whole.
Got me? Yeah, that's it. You know, because we've thought about this text in one way as we were reading through it, you know, through the eyes of Offred sort of thing. We've seen it as a work of fiction, dystopian fiction, etc. And here, right at the end now, we're being asked to think about it now as a kind of historical source, that idea, and it changes our attitude towards it. A bit like, again, we're going to go back to, I think maybe Abby's least favourite book. I can't remember if it was Abby or Katie said it was, you know, oh, I didn't get that. A bit like The Wasp Factory. You know, you have to readjust your thinking right at the end when you realise that Frank isn't Frank, but is in fact Francis. And so you think you've been dealing with a sort of, you know, delinquent lad who's got sort of psychotic thoughts, and you find out, no, it's not. And it changes your kind of view of the novel again. You have to go back and kind of readjust it. But again, it's right at the end, our perspective has changed here. Okay. And then we come on to the professor and his little puns, you know, his Arctic chart, and then he talks about the Arctic chair as well. And it's that use of the word. He talks about the use of the word enjoy, and he says he means it in two ways, but not the redundant third way, which again is going into that kind of vulgar kind of pun that he's suggesting again. We've got the use of the word tale, which Katie mentioned yesterday, and then the changing of the underground female road to frail road. What does that? What do you think Atwood might be getting at there with the professor? You know, when he brings in these little puns, which tend to be directed at who?
Women.
Yeah, the professor's jokes tend to be directed at women. And what do you think Atwood might be suggesting here?
The commanders in Gilead weren't Gileadian, but men made Gilead. If you see what I'm saying.
Very good, yes. Oh, and let's see if we can take this to a whole new level now. My question to you, and again, building on what Abby just said there, is that idea about the commanders, you know, and their kind of behaviour. It didn't need Gilead to kind of exist. You know, the professor shows that it might not be to the extreme measure that we have in Gilead, but you know, the sort of the foundations of it are still there in 2195 in the future. So that kind of suggests where, conceptually, where is Gilead?
Everywhere, I guess. It's not. It is an attitude rather than Gilead was created because of an attitude, so that attitude could be anywhere. It just so happened to be where it was.
Yeah, you get my seal of approval there. That's it exactly, Katie. It's an attitude. Yeah, it's that concept that, you know, Gilead is from within, isn't it? It's that idea. It's a male perspective. It's that kind of male. It's within the male psyche. Yeah. It doesn't need a physical location to exist. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. So it doesn't. It's that you say it's within that sort of male attitude, and it's about it being there to a greater or lesser extent. Yeah. And we can think about it there. It then begins to sort of put into place that Gilead was just basically its high point, its culmination. But just because Gilead, the place has gone away, it doesn't mean to say that the attitude is gone. And we get that with these kind of flippant remarks being made by the professor at the expense of females. And you get that idea, isn't it? It's people who, when they take offence, say, "Oh, in today's kind of vernacular, it's only bants, only a little bit of bants. I didn't mean anything by it." But you think, well, what is it that is behind the joke? What is it? But why make somebody the butt of the joke, sort of thing? Okay, good. Now, the other thing is historical hoaxes are very real. Do you know about the Hitler Diaries?
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I put a couple of links to them there. That was everything. It happened way back in 1983. And it was a big splash. It was between Der Bild, I think, and the Sunday Times. And they thought they'd uncovered Hitler's private diaries. And there was a real splash in the newspapers about them. But
Did they?
Sorry?
Well, they weren't real, were they? I thought they were.
No. But two newspapers got hoaxed. One in Germany, I think it's Der Bild, the magazine, and the Sunday Times got stung by this. And I say you can click onto the links afterwards to see it. And they believed that they'd been provided with Hitler's private diaries towards the end of the war, when he's heading into bunker mode, sort of thing. And they published extracts. They made a big splash of this, and it was and week one they spread it all over the Sunday Times. It was wall to wall in the Sunday Times. Within a week, it had all unravelled, all come apart, and it transpired that they'd been, it had all been a hoax, and that they'd fallen for it. And the following week, they had to sort of say, "Well, guess what?" And also the rest of the newspapers all had a good chuckle at them. I think a couple of journalists lost their jobs over this sort of thing. But it was a very, very well organised hoax. But it shows you that these things can happen. And again, it takes us into this whole thing. What Atwood's now doing with us here, we're thinking, is this reality? Is this pretense? What is it that Atwood is attempting through this novel that she's written here? And this is the kind of the what do we call it? This is the main kind of thrust of the professor's lecture to them, his keynote speech. He's saying how tricky it was to authenticate that what they've got together is the actual truth, sort of thing. And then we have straight from the professor's mouths himself, Atwood's attempt here to change our perspective as readers. Professor says, supposing then the tapes to be genuine, what of the nature of the account itself? Obviously, it could not have been recorded during the period of time it recounts. Since the author is telling the truth, no machine or tapes would have been available to her, nor would she have had a place of concealment for them. There's a certain reflective quality about the narrative that would, in my mind, rule out synchronicity. It has the whiff of emotion recollected, if not in tranquility, at least post facto. Right, what I want you to do now for me, and I will give you, what time are we at? Right, 11:30. When does this lesson end? 22. Quarter two.
42.
Quarter two, right. I want you now just to quickly jot down for me on your OneNote your reactions to that paragraph. Oops. For example, just to sort of kick it off, for example, that idea, the whole sort of oops. You know, it's that idea. It kicks off with that supposing the tapes to be genuine. It's that idea. It's very vague. It's playing with reality. It's this idea of just imagine. But as we're reading the text, what do we tend to think?
It's all real.
We do, but as we read it, yeah. Yeah. So what I want you to do? Yeah. Any other sort of ideas like that bit of text just throws up to you from what the professor is saying? Just jot them down now. You just bullet point them, just as I've done there. That'll be fine. Okay, so what sort of ideas are we beginning to come up with? Abby, if you can give me one first, please.
I think he's very hypocritical in the way that he infers that the reflective and calm nature that Offred takes on to describe her tale invalidates the tale, because the sole purpose of the symposiums is to reflect on the life of Gilead, and the only reason that this is the 12th one and there will be more is because he is the man at the center stage of it all, and the audience are likely to just be absorbing every word and not questioning it just because of the novelty of Gilead and because it's him telling the tale.
Yeah, good. Like that. Yeah. Good. Okay, Gabe, you're next.
I was going like a little more in depth, and I said about the fact that the nature of the account itself, it just refers to manipulation of the reader, and that's reflected in the following word, obviously, which is rather ironic, as we've read the novel on believing what it was, but it wasn't to be what we thought, if you know what I mean. I kind of put the same kind of thing that, like as Abby said, the invalidation of what she is telling to be true. As it says, no machine or tapes would have been available to her. However, if that was the case, then the historical notes or the historical facts that we've been told in the rest of the book are not necessarily to be believed either.
Yeah, good.
Doesn't really makes a lot of sense.
No, exactly so. Yeah. Yeah, very good. Yeah, like that. Good. Katie?
1 second.
Okay, we'll wait.
I'm just writing this down before I forget. Right. I said that the place of concealment, that phrase is ironic because Gilead was a place filled with lies and secrets, but in this singular aspect, it's actually a place of transparency. And then in comparison to the real world, like when they're outside of the world, now all of a sudden there are places to conceal things.
Yeah.
So it's like, is the real world actually just as hypocritical in its lies on liberty if things can still be hidden, when in Gilead things couldn't be hidden, so people had to be honest? But are they honest, or you get my gist?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, very good. Yeah. Good. Good. Anybody want to add anything else?
I just find it ironic that he takes on the title of being the expert of Gilead, but
Yeah.
when listening to Offred's tapes, he just disregards every single fact. Well, supposed fact. Again, that was never mind. He just disregards that and says, "In my mind, this isn't true," or like just things like that that just invalidate Offred when she's the only surviving accord of Gilead.
Yeah. Good. Yes, exactly. So, also, I mean, how do you react to his comment? Obviously, it could not have been recorded during the period of time. When you're reading the text, what do you think? What timescale do you think you're reading it?
Present.
Yeah, you think we think as we read it, it's a contemporaneous account, and she's flitting back and forth in time, isn't she? Where she's remembering things from her past, what it was like before Gilead existed, and she's linking that up to things that are happening to her in Gilead at that time, and she makes some speculation about what future life is going to be as well, sort of thing. But it's again, it goes back to what Abby is saying this time. He always talks from this point of almost like certainty, using that phrase. Obviously, it could not have been. Well, why not? Because we know that there were messages, as the one that was, scratched into the wardrobe. There were things that were hidden away. There were messages that were passed on. That whole thing was done. But it's just this idea. He just sort of gains it. And again, if it's not going to be recorded in the time that it recounts, going to our resident historian, Katie, what does that then make this source? Is it primary or secondary?
Secondary.
Yeah.
Well, kind of primary slash. It's a secondary source, but from a primary person, if you get what I mean. Like she obviously. But.
Yeah. But exactly, and again, it's going back down that comment that Abby was saying about in the sense of invalidating. And if we take that kind of hand in hand with the puns that we mentioned earlier on, it shows you this attitude about undermining. Again, we begin to speculate, if this had been a male character, would he have dismissed her as much? And we think about the rest of the historical notes. I mean, it starts off with Offred and Offred's account, but the historical notes then focus on who? Do they focus on male or female characters?
The commanders.
Yeah, it's the commander, it's Nick, isn't it? It's male characters. That again, so here, even although it's meant to be about Offred's account, the female victim, it ends up with coming back to the male. And the idea is, we couldn't really trace who the handmaids were and all that sort of stuff, but we might be able to get a handle on who the commander was. We can maybe get to who their identities were. But again, it's still showing you that kind of male-centered world, that patriarchy, if you want. And again, showing you that things haven't haven't changed all that much. It might be that the professor just kind of sugarcoats the pill a little bit, but things have not changed all that dramatically, even, you know, millennia down, let's say, after Gilead has fallen, sort of thing. Also, what do you make about the comment, it has a whiff of emotion recollected? How do you react to that?
Almost like a reminiscence.
Yeah. Say that again, sorry, is that you, Katie?
Yeah, it's done that thing again where I spoke and then it glitched. But I was just going to say,
Oh, it's done it again. We'll never know.
It strikes again.
Are you there, Katie?
I can hear you. Hello?
Oh,
Oh, you're back.
You're
Can you hear me?
we can hear you now, coming through.
I'll speak fast. The female emotions, it's like, oh well, because she's a whiff of emotion, like females are seen to be too emotional, and like her account is disregarded because of her emotion. But obviously she's through massive trauma, so of course she's got emotion. Yeah,
exactly. So, and it's that word, isn't it? Whiff. It's almost like disrespectful, isn't it? And you see the emotions. You say it's the emotion. I mean, when women are being challenged by men as saying that they're overreacting, what is the word that they use?
Emotional.
No, begins with an H.
Hysterical.
Hormone.
That's it.
Oh. What?
Yeah. It's that kind of, you know, isn't it? It's hinting towards that, you know, it's not being so hysterical, hysteria.
Yeah.
You get that kind of coming through from the professor, and you do think, you know, again, if it was well, he treats the males, the professors, completely differently, doesn't he? He even laughs at the joke that Judd makes about saying, "Oh, we won't make that mistake about letting them read again." You know, and he kind of just glosses over it. He talks about the commander. I think it's the commander again, or Judd? It's the commander gets the idea about red from the Nazis and you know, the prisoners of war during the Second World War, and this is all just kind of glibly kind of referred to. Without that kind of lack of emotion or that lack of concern, and the things that the commanders say and the way that they've done it, you know, it's about again, I think it's Judd who brings out the CIA handbook on how to destabilize and overthrow governments. You've then also got the commander who comes up with the idea of about allowing the handmaids that idea to sort of take the rage out in a man at some point as being a sort of, you know, pressure valve to release it. All of that is dealt with that kind of academic way. It's handled without any sense of attitude coming through with it. But whenever he talks about Offred here, you just get little words that tell you how subjective he is being, and that whiff of emotion is a classic one there that gives the game away. Okay. And again, he tries to make his own case, doesn't he? So clear. He says, you know, that also the reflective quality about the narrative that would make, in my mind, rule out synchronicity. You know, he uses that word deliberately, synchronicity, isn't it? He could have chosen another. It's to try and lend weight to what he's saying, make it sound academic, make it sound, you know, as if it is the truth. Okay. Very good. Right. And so we come to the end of today's lesson. Okay, very good. I think I'm just checking. Check my. Is it Thursday or Friday? We have a lesson again this week.
I thought you were Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
Friday.
Is it? Right. So we will we'll talk about the musical puns and whatnot as well, and then we will be going on to the next part. The next lesson that I've got lined up there for it as well. We're going to look at the language out of this as well, the post-Gileadian world sort of thing. That'll take up Fridays. Okie dokie. And obviously, do you have thoughts about those competitions? Well, we're looking forward to Katie's ideas on Shakespearean monologues.
Oh, be ready, sir.
Right. And remember to be thinking about a running gag for when the video starts recording.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Have a good day, and I'll see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.